She came here, stayed for a minute, for a little while. She called the Uber. Uber was taking too long to really get here. So a gentleman here at the club offered to give her a ride to where she needed to go.
Down to the urgent search for a missing woman. It's been more than a week since 24-year-old Felicia Johnson disappeared.
Her family says that she was last seen at CoverGirl's nightclub near the Beltway and 290 in Northwest Houston.
I'm trying to hold myself together and not just break down, and I don't know where my baby is or what's being done to her. And I can't put it into words, but it's like anguish. Just, I don't know.
I was trafficked through these chains of nightclubs from the owners of these nightclubs for over a decade, where I was sexually exploited, extorted to be rehired whenever I was fired because I was discriminated on, and put in dangerous positions time after time, day after day, week after week, and not paid for the hours that I was in those clubs as an employer. There's a lot of horrible things that happen in the chain of the CoverGirls organization, AHD Houston Incorporated.
On May 13th, 2022, Houston police stopped a car. They had warrants. They knew who they were looking for. Inside that vehicle, they found a handgun, a knife, a shovel, and cleaning supplies. They found forensic evidence in the vehicle, evidence that would later be linked to a missing woman. They took the driver into custody. They questioned him. His phone told an even darker story, disturbing photos that raised investigators' concerns. Not just one, several. And the state of those remains suggested to investigators that Felicia Johnson wasn't his first victim. Then they noticed his hand, his right hand, wrapped in fresh bandages. Police had just searched his apartment that same morning. They found her DNA there, Felicia Johnson's DNA, in his bedroom, in his hallway. That man has never been seen again. Weeks later, Felicia's father found out police had him, had all the evidence, and let him walk away. 3 years later, nobody knows where he is. And if those photos on his phone showed other victims, who were they? Before we get too deep, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you find value in these discussions. Felicia was the oldest of 3 children. Her parents had divorced when she was younger, and all 3 kids stayed with their father, Kevin. He eventually remarried a woman named Myra, and they raised the children in San Diego. Felicia Marie Johnson turned 24 years old on April 10th, 2022. Her family threw her a party back home in San Diego. Her father, Kevin, her stepmother, Myra, friends she'd known for years. In every photo from that day, Felicia is smiling. Felicia maintained an active social media presence under the name Felicia Marie. She posted regularly, worked on her appearance, and had modeling aspirations. She was figuring out how to turn her looks and personality into opportunities. Like a lot of young women her age, she was trying to build something. 3 days after her birthday party, on April 13th, 2022, Felicia left San Diego and flew to Houston, Texas. She checked into the Intercontinental Houston Medical Center Hotel. The man she would meet was named Chukwuebuka Nwobodo. He was 28 years old. Chukwuebuka is a Nigerian name from the Igbo ethnic group, but he was raised in Houston. He'd gone to school in the Fort Bend district and had lived in the city his entire adult life. And there was something in his past that should have raised concerns. Years earlier, a woman reported an incident with Nwobodo. She contacted police and filed a report. Later, she chose not to pursue charges. The case was closed. Why she changed her mind isn't known. What matters is that without charges filed, Nwobodo remained free. No arrest record, no conviction, nothing on his record. And on April 15th, 2022, a Friday night, Felicia Johnson was about to meet him. That Friday, Felicia went to an adult entertainment club called CoverGirls on West Little York Road in Northwest Houston. She wanted to see if they were hiring dancers. They weren't, so she left and returned to her hotel, the Intercontinental Houston Medical Center Hotel. She was still in contact with her family, still texting, still checking in. What her family didn't know was that Felicia had connected with someone online, a man named Chukwuebuka Nwobodo. According to investigators, they'd arranged to meet. He'd offered to pay her $500. Early Saturday morning, April 16th, around 3 a.m., Nwobodo ordered an Uber to pick her up from her hotel and take her to an address. The address Nwobodo gave that Uber driver was not his real address. It was his old address, a place he used to live but didn't anymore. He sent Felicia to his old address on Windchase Boulevard. Then he picked her up from there in his own car and drove her to his actual apartment on South Richmond Avenue. Felicia Johnson got into that car, and she was never seen alive again. By Saturday afternoon, Felicia's family couldn't reach her. This is a young woman who was always on her phone, always posting, always in contact. And suddenly, silence. Her father, Kevin, starts to panic. Something is wrong. He can feel it. By Saturday evening, he's making calls, trying to find out what's happening, trying to reach anyone who might know where she is. And on that same Saturday, April 16th, surveillance cameras at a Walmart captured a man. He's walking through the store with his right hand bandaged, wrapped up, injured. That man is Chukwuebuka Nwobodo, and he's buying supplies. Trash bags, a flashlight, towels, gloves. Later that day, Nwobodo showed up at a clinic with a cut on his right hand. His story? He cut himself opening boxes. The medical staff treated him and documented the injury. The next day, April 17th, Nwobodo went back to the stores. According to receipts, he purchased a mechanical saw. And while he's out there shopping, buying supplies, covering his tracks, Felicia's father, Kevin, is desperate. His daughter is missing, and the Houston Police Department isn't moving fast enough. Kevin Johnson did what any father would do. He got on a plane. He flew from San Diego to Houston. He wasn't going to sit at home and wait. His daughter was missing in a city 1,500 miles away, and he was going to find her. When he got to Houston, Kevin immediately filed a missing person report with Houston police.
This morning, a family clinging to hope as they desperately search for a San Diego woman missing in Texas.
I won't rest for a day in my life until I have you back.
That is Kevin Johnson that you just heard from. He says his 24-year-old daughter Felicia was last seen 11 days ago, leaving a nightclub in Houston. Her family says they uncovered evidence she may have been the victim of a violent crime. ABC 10 News reporter Marie Cornell joining us live this morning. And Marie, her father has left San Diego and is in Texas helping with the search efforts.
According to Kevin, it took 5 days before they really began investigating. He felt like once they learned certain details about what Felicia might have been doing in Houston, the case became less of a priority. So Kevin did what he had to do. He hired a private investigator, someone who would actually go out and search, someone who would do the work. And that private investigator found something. He tracked Felicia's phone, pinged the location, and found it in Bear Creek Pioneers Park off the roadside near Highway 6 and Clay Road. There was blood on it. When Kevin heard this, when he saw that phone, he knew something terrible had happened to his daughter. He went back to the police. He showed them what the private investigator had found. Only then did the Houston Police Department begin to act. Police searched Bear Creek Park. It's a massive wooded area with trails cutting through it. They found Felicia's purse and belongings, but they didn't find Felicia. Kevin wasn't giving up. He printed flyers, thousands of them. He posted them all over Houston, especially around Bear Creek Park. Flyers with Felicia's face, her description, a phone number to call if anyone saw her or knew anything. Black woman, 24 years old, 5'5", long black hair, brown eyes, tattoo of roses and butterflies on her right shoulder. Missing. Please help. Local residents saw those flyers. They started paying attention. They started looking. Volunteers formed search parties and combed through Bear Creek Park. They searched ditches, dense brush, and wooded areas, anywhere evidence might be found. The FBI eventually got involved. They joined the search. And a local activist named Quanell X heard about the case. Quanell X is known in Houston. He's a community organizer, a leader of the new Black Panther Nation. And he was frustrated because this wasn't the first time. In the months before Felicia disappeared, several other young Black women had gone missing in Houston under similar circumstances. And in each case, Quanell X felt like police had dragged their feet. On April 20th, 2022, Quanell X held a press conference. He stood in front of cameras and media and he said, quote,
"We need you young sisters to look at these cases like Felicia Johnson and realize that your life can be taken from you in the blink of an eye by some sick-minded individual. These men are kidnapping you and they are killing you.
He called on the Houston community to help find Felicia. He demanded that police take this seriously. He said the delays in the investigation were unacceptable, and something about that public pressure worked because the police finally started digging deeper. They started pulling records, surveillance footage, phone data, Uber records. And that's when they found him, Chukwuebuka Nwobodo. They discovered that Nwobodo had ordered Uber for Felicia on April 16th. They traced her movements from her hotel to Windchase Boulevard. They found surveillance footage of Nwobodo's car leaving his apartment complex about an hour after Felicia would have arrived. They saw his car on cameras near Bear Creek Park around the same time Felicia's phone pinged in that area. They got a search warrant for his apartment on South Richmond Avenue, and when investigators entered, they found forensic evidence. They found DNA evidence that testing confirmed belonged to Felicia Johnson. And then came May 13th, 2022, the day the Houston Police Department had Chukwuebuka Nwobodo in custody and let him walk away. Houston police pulled Nwobodo over during a traffic stop. They had warrants. They searched his car right there on the side of the road. They found a handgun, a knife, a shovel, cleaning supplies, and forensic evidence. Everything that would tie him to Felicia Johnson's disappearance. They took him into custody. They questioned him. They seized his phone. When investigators examined it, they found disturbing images, disturbing photos that raised investigator concerns. Investigators couldn't identify the people in those photos. There was no metadata, no information about where or when they were taken, but the images were there on his phone. In the days after Felicia disappeared, Nwobodo had searched how to be a serial killer, does bleach destroy DNA, how to get away with murder, most forested parts of Houston. He also searched 15 cheapest places to live in the world. Was he planning to run? On May 3rd, he searched, can police access a missing person's phone records? All of this evidence, all of this information, the police had him. They knew, and they were building a case. They had him, right there, in handcuffs, with more evidence than most cases ever see, and they let him go. They released him. No charges filed that day, no arrest. Police said they needed more time to build the case, that they didn't have enough yet to hold him. Chukwuebuka Nwobodo walked out of that police station on May 13th, 2022. He got in his car, he drove away, and he has not been seen since. A few weeks later, in June 2022, Houston police finally filed charges: murder, tampering with evidence. They issued a warrant for his arrest. But by then, he was gone. Long gone.
New calls being made tonight for the public's help in finding the man accused in the disappearance of Felicia Johnson. Johnson was last seen at the CoverGirls nightclub on West Little York Road back in April. Community activist Quanell X and the Rainbow Coalition spoke out tonight, calling for justice in the case. Police are now searching for 28-year-old Chukwuebuka Nwobodo. He is charged with murder and tampering with evidence.
We will not rest until you have been arrested. We want the suspect to know that we're going to look for you night and day, brother, until you are arrested. We want the suspect to know that the no snitch policy will never protect you in our community.
And Kevin Johnson, Felicia's father, had to live with the knowledge that police had his daughter's killer in their hands and let him walk away. For 10 months, Kevin Johnson lived without answers. Where was his daughter? Would she ever be found? And somewhere in the world, the man who took her was walking free. Eventually, Kevin returned to San Diego. He had a family to care for, a life to maintain, but emotionally, part of him never left Houston. On February 7th, 2023, a worker in Sam Houston National Forest made a discovery. He was working near Flamingo Lakes off Highway 149 in Montgomery County. The area is heavily wooded, remote, the kind of place people rarely go. He saw something that shouldn't have been there, a torn trash bag. What he found next would finally give Kevin Johnson the answers he'd been searching for. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office responded to the scene. They sent samples for analysis, dental records, DNA testing. The process of identification began. Investigators had a strong suspicion about who this might be. Even before the results came back, they called Kevin Johnson. They told him they believed they'd found his daughter.
Tonight, a father believes the remains of his daughter, who went missing nearly a year ago, may have been found.
And today, investigators tell us they were back out at a site in Montgomery County where remains were found earlier this week. Grace White joins us now with what she's learned. Grace?
Those remains in Montgomery County have still not officially been identified. The justice of the peace there told us tonight he was on scene Tuesday when skeletal remains were found, along with a trash bag that's now been collected as evidence.
Kevin had been waiting for this call for 10 months, but that didn't make it any easier to receive. He told reporters later that the news was both devastating and a relief. Devastating because it confirmed what he'd known in his heart since that phone was found in the park. His daughter was gone. But relief because at least now he could bring her home and she could have a proper burial. This part of the waiting was over.
The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office released a statement. Dental records confirmed the identity. It was Felicia Johnson. The discovery was incomplete. Investigators believe the rest may have been scattered by wildlife or hidden in different locations throughout the forest. The cause of her passing couldn't be determined due to the condition of what was found, but the circumstances left no doubt about what happened. Kevin Johnson made another trip to Houston, not to search this time, but to bring his daughter home. He spoke to the media. He said, "The reason why her body has been found is so that she can return to get justice for herself." He believed that Felicia's discovery wasn't random. It was meant to happen so that her case couldn't be forgotten, so that the search for her killer would continue, and so that eventually there would be accountability. Kevin also issued a warning to Chukwuebuka Nwobodo, wherever he might be. He said his family would not rest until Felicia got justice. He vowed to spend the rest of his life searching for the man who took his daughter. But where is Chukwuebuka Nwobodo? That's the question everyone wants answered, and nobody knows. After he walked out of that police station on May 13th, 2022, he vanished completely. No confirmed sightings, no credible leads. Some believe he fled back to Nigeria. His family is from the Igbo ethnic group in southeastern Nigeria. It's possible he went there, changed his name, and disappeared into the population. Nigeria is a large country. Finding someone who doesn't want to be found there would be extremely difficult. Others think he might be somewhere in Europe. There are large Nigerian diaspora communities in countries like Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands. He could have fled there under a false identity. Some even speculate he might still be in the United States, hiding in plain sight in a different city under a different name. The truth is, nobody knows. And that uncertainty is what haunts Kevin Johnson every single day. Crime Stoppers offered a $5,000 reward for information leading to Nwobodo's arrest. But so far, no credible tips have led to his capture. The Houston Police Department maintains an active warrant for his arrest. He's charged with taking Felicia Johnson's life and tampering with evidence. He's considered armed and dangerous. If anyone sees him or has information about his whereabouts, they're urged to contact Houston Police Department Homicide Division or Crime Stoppers immediately. But here's what makes this case even more disturbing. Remember those photos found on Nwobodo's phone? Those images that raised concerns for investigators? The people in those photos were never identified. Investigators don't know who they were. They don't know when or where those photos were taken, which means Felicia Johnson may not have been his only victim. Those photos suggest he'd done this before, maybe multiple times. And if he's still free, if he's somewhere out there living under a new identity, there's concern he could do it again. Community activist Quanell X held vigils in Felicia's memory, both in Houston, where she lost her life, and in San Diego, where she grew up. People who knew her came together to remember the young woman she was. Funny, smart, full of dreams. Quanell X used these gatherings to issue warnings to other young women. He said, "We need you young sisters to look at these cases like Felicia Johnson and realize that your life can be taken from you in the blink of an eye by some sick-minded individual." His message wasn't about judgment. It was about awareness, about understanding that there are dangerous people in this world, people who see vulnerability as opportunity, people who plan, who calculate, who hunt. Felicia's case became a rallying point for conversations about violence against Black women, about how these cases are often treated differently by law enforcement, about how women in certain lines of work are sometimes seen as less deserving of protection, less worthy of justice. Kevin Johnson has had to live with an impossible burden, the knowledge that his daughter might still be alive if police had acted differently, if they'd held Nwobodo on May 13th instead of releasing him, if they'd moved faster in the beginning, if they'd taken her disappearance seriously from day one instead of waiting 5 days to really investigate. He's had to process his grief while also fighting for accountability. He's spoken publicly about his health struggles. The loss of his daughter, combined with the system's failure, has taken a devastating toll. But Kevin hasn't given up. He says he won't stop until Chukwuebuka Nwobodo is caught. He wants other families to know they're not alone. He wants Felicia's name to be remembered. And he wants her case to serve as a warning. Because here's the reality. Chukwuebuka Nwobodo is still out there, right now, today. Almost 3 years after he walked out of that police station. He's 31 years old now. He could be anywhere. He could have changed his appearance, grown a beard, cut his hair, changed his weight. He could be using a different name, working a regular job, living a seemingly normal life. But he's a fugitive, wanted for taking someone's life. And if those photos on his phone are any indication, Felicia Johnson wasn't his first victim, which means he's dangerous. He's shown what he's capable of, and he's proven he's willing to run rather than face consequences. This case raises important questions. Questions about how missing persons cases are handled. Questions about implicit bias in law enforcement. Questions about what happens when someone falls through the cracks of the system. Felicia Johnson went to Houston to celebrate her birthday. She was 24 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her. What happened to her was not justified by any choice she made. Nobody deserves what happened to Felicia Johnson. And the man responsible is free. He's been free for almost 3 years. Every day that passes is another day he's not being held accountable. Another day Kevin Johnson wakes up, knowing the person who took his daughter is out there, somewhere. If you have any information about Chukwuebuka Nwobodo's whereabouts, please contact Houston Police Department Homicide Division. You can also contact Crime Stoppers anonymously. Felicia Marie Johnson. Remember her name. Remember her face. Remember that she was loved. Remember that her father hasn't stopped searching for justice. And remember that somewhere out there, Chukwuebuka Nwobodo is still free, still walking around, still living his life while Felicia's family lives without her. Don't let this case be forgotten. I hope these stories help you recognize warning signs and encourage you to seek help or offer support before it's too late. I'll see you in the next episode of Crime of Passion. Thank you for watching.